He walked away from full-time racing 5 years ago. Now he's coming back for one final shot, and he's bringing the number that made him a legend with him. Jimmie Johnson just announced the ending nobody saw coming, and it's not just a farewell lap, it's a full-circle moment that's about to shake the NASCAR world. Jimmie Johnson is heading back to Daytona for the 2027 Daytona 500, his last Cup Series start ever. But here's the twist. He won't be driving his current number 84 for Legacy Motor Club, the team he co-owns. He's going back to the number 48. The Toyota he's climbing into carries that number through a special one-race deal with Hendrick Motorsports. That number isn't just a number. It's the machine that built his entire legacy. Let's rewind. From 2001 to 2020, Johnson drove the number 48 for Hendrick Motorsports in nearly every one of his Cup Series starts, 686 out of 702 to be exact. That stretch produced 7 championships, 83 wins, 2 Daytona 500 titles, and 4 Brickyard 400 victories. It's one of the most dominant runs the sport has ever seen. When Johnson stepped back from full-time racing after 2020, the number 48 didn't retire with him. It kept racing now under Alex Bowman, who ironically just announced his own final full-time season will also be 2027, so this isn't their random scheduling quirk. 2 chapters of Hendrick Motorsports history are closing out at the exact same time, and for one race, their paths are crossing in the most symbolic way possible. Johnson has said the number represents far more than results. It's tied to the people and relationships built during that championship era, a piece of his identity forged over nearly 2 decades behind the wheel. Hendrick Motorsports chairman Rick Hendrick echoed that sentiment, saying the request to bring the number back for one final race simply felt right, and that sponsor Ali didn't hesitate to support the idea either. Now here's where it gets interesting from a strategic standpoint. This isn't just sentimental. It's smart business, smart storytelling, and smart racing, all at once. Start with the storytelling angle. NASCAR has been fighting for relevance with younger audiences for years. A move like this, nostalgia-driven, emotionally loaded, tied to one of the sport's most decorated names, is exactly the kind of moment that cuts through the noise. Expect this to dominate pre-Daytona coverage in February 2027. Then there's the competitive angle. Johnson isn't stepping into unfamiliar territory. He's getting behind the wheel of the number he drove for 2 decades, at the track where he's already won twice. That's not a nostalgia lap for its own sake. That's a legitimate shot at one more signature moment on NASCAR's biggest stage, but there's risk here too. Johnson is 51 years old and hasn't raced full-time since 2020. Daytona is notoriously unpredictable. Packed fields, high speeds, and the constant threat of a multi-car wreck. A farewell story can turn into a cautionary one in a single restart. The margin for error at a superspeedway like Daytona is razor thin, and one bad break could overshadow the entire moment Hendrick and Johnson are trying to create. There's also a logistics wrinkle. Bowman, the current number 48 driver, has to shift into a different car for this one race before returning to his usual ride. That's a real disruption for a team gearing up for a championship push in what's also Bowman's own final full-time season. Coordinating that swap without throwing off team chemistry is no small task. So is this smart or risky? Honestly, both. It's a calculated gamble that trades a small amount of competitive certainty for a massive amount of competitive certainty for a massive amount of storytelling value. In today's NASCAR, where attention is currency, that trade might be worth it. Expect 2 very different reactions colliding here. Longtime fans who watched Johnson's championship run are going to feel this one. For them, seeing the number Brill. 48 back on track with Johnson at the wheel is a full-circle goosebumps moment, closure on one of the greatest careers in NASCAR history, but you'll also hear skepticism. Some analysts will question whether a 51-year-old part-time driver competing in a chaotic superspeedway race is the right way to send off a legend. Daytona has ended plenty of storylines the hard way, and critics will point that out. Either way, this is must-watch television. Nobody's going to skip this broadcast. Best case, Johnson threads the needle through a clean race, stays out of the chaos, and finishes competitively. Maybe even contends for a 3rd Daytona 500 win. That would be one of the greatest storybook endings in NASCAR history. Worst case, Johnson gets caught in one of Daytona's infamous multi-car pileups early, ending his final start in the wall instead of on his own terms. They wouldn't erase his legacy, but it would leave fans wishing the ending had gone differently. Either outcome, this race is going to be one of the most talked about moments of the 2027 season. So here's the real question. Does Jimmie Johnson close out his career with one more signature Daytona moment, or does the sport's most unpredictable track write a different ending than everyone's hoping for? Drop your prediction in the comments. Are you rooting for the storybook finish or bracing for chaos? If you want more breakdowns like this before every major NASCAR storyline drops, make sure you're subscribed to SportsWire USA. You won't want to miss what's coming next.